Upon arriving on Apocalypse, Batman immediately activates the cloaking mechanism of his Hellbat suit, concealing himself from the ever-watchful eyes of Darkseid's forces. As he moves through the hellish landscape, he spots a group of lowlies, wretched inhabitants of the planet, struggling to escape their grim fate in the fire pits. Without hesitation, he intervenes, pulling them from the flames, knowing full well that his presence will soon be detected. It doesn't take long. Parademons, Darkseid's monstrous foot soldiers, descend from the sky, searching for the intruder who dared to disrupt their brutal work. From the shadows, Batman emerges, gripping one of the creatures by the throat. His voice is cold and commanding as he demands the location of glorious Godfrey. Before an answer can come, he smashes the Parademon's face with a forceful punch, sending it crashing into the ground. Meanwhile, in the Batcave, Alfred Pennyworth tends to the animals, a fleeting moment of normalcy disrupted by the arrival of Batman's protégés. Though relieved to see them together, he knows they share the same concern. Batman is alone on Apocalypse and there is no way to reach him. The mother box he used to travel there remains in his possession, leaving them stranded on Earth. Red Robin, however, suggests an alternative: Cyborg. Despite Victor Stone's initial refusal to involve himself in Batman's reckless plan, Alfred has an idea that might change his mind. But with Gotham left vulnerable in their absence, reinforcements are necessary. That means calling on Batwing and Batwoman, though the latter is less than thrilled about the arrangement. On Apocalypse, Caliban kneels before the restoration chamber of his father, Darkseid. Though still unconscious, the tyrant's presence looms over the planet like an unbroken storm. Caliban whispers promises, vowing that when his father awakens, he will see his son's greatness. In his rule, Apocalypse has suffered no weakness, no hesitation. He has gathered artifacts of immense power, including the legendary Chaos Shard, believing they will accelerate Darkseid's recovery. If his father returns stronger, Apocalypse itself will rise even greater than before. Back in the Batcave, Cyborg stands before Batman's allies, skeptical as to why they have summoned him. Batgirl explains that Batman, anticipating interference from the Justice League, set up elaborate holographic projections of supervillains across the globe to keep them distracted. However, the illusions programmed for Gotham are more resilient, resisting the Bat family's efforts to deactivate them. They need Cyborg's expertise to shut them down. Reluctantly, Victor connects to the system, only to be met with a sudden electrical surge that renders him unconscious. The team moves quickly, seizing the opportunity to access his suit's boom tube technology while he is incapacitated. Before they leave, Alfred presents them with specially modified versions of Damian's Robin suit, engineered for survival on Apocalypse. Each suit bears Damian's emblem, a stark reminder of the mission's purpose. With a final nod, Barbara activates the boom tube. As they leap through, Cyborg regains consciousness, realizing their plan too late. He lunges forward to stop them, but at the last second, Titus, Damian's loyal Great Dane, bites onto his arm. In the struggle, both are pulled into the portal as it seals shut behind them. Meanwhile, Batman makes his way to Godfrey's compound, a fortress guarded by Darkseid's loyal zealots, the Justifiers. Without slowing his pace, he tears through them, his Hellbat suit allowing him to make quick work of the fanatics. Within moments, he has Godfrey in his grasp, lifting him effortlessly before shoving him toward the searing flames below. His demand is clear: take him to his son and the Chaos Crystal. There will be no negotiation. Elsewhere, Batgirl, Red Robin, and Red Hood emerge from the boom tube, only to find themselves surrounded by a horde of desperate lowlies. Weakened and starving, the inhabitants of Apocalypse see them not as allies but as a means to survive. Before the trio can react, Cyborg and Titus arrive through the portal just behind them. Unfortunately, their arrival does little to ease the tension. The lowlies, driven by hunger and desperation, decide that their unexpected visitors would make an adequate meal. Back in Caliban's stronghold, the warlord stands before his ultimate weapon, the Chaos Cannon. Powered by the Chaos Shard and fueled by Damian's sarcophagus, the device is designed to unleash destruction unlike anything the universe has seen. Without hesitation, Caliban fires the cannon, obliterating a distant planet in an instant. The violent eruption of energy shakes Apocalypse itself, catching the attention of Batman and his allies. The battle for Damian's soul is about to begin. On the scorched, war-torn surface of Apocalypse, Batman had glorious Godfrey at his mercy, gripping the villain with unrelenting force. His demand was simple but absolute: he wanted his son back. Godfrey, struggling against the suffocating grasp, relented and revealed the truth. Damian Wayne was being used as a power source. Kalibak, the firstborn son of Darkseid, had bound Damian's body to the Chaos Shard, an artifact of raw, destructive energy, and was fueling a weapon capable of planetary annihilation, the Chaos Cannon. Every time it was fired, it drained the life essence from other worlds, feeding Apocalypse and strengthening its dominion over the universe. Godfrey, sensing an opportunity, offered to lead Batman to the weapon. But Batman had no patience for deceit. With a swift strike, he rendered Godfrey unconscious and moved forward, determined to find Damian before it was too late. However, as he pressed on, his suit's advanced diagnostics issued a warning. An alien bacteria had infiltrated its systems. It was a bioweapon, likely engineered by Apocalyptian forces, and it was already starting to compromise his vitals. His breathing became labored, his muscles stiffened, and his mind felt the creeping weight of exhaustion. But there was no time to stop. Meanwhile, Batman's allies, Batgirl, Red Robin, Red Hood, and Cyborg, had disobeyed his orders and followed him to Apocalypse, unwilling to let him face the horrors of Darkseid's world alone. Their arrival, however, had not gone unnoticed. They had been captured by the Lowlies, the desperate and starving underclass of Apocalypse, who saw them as nothing more than a meal. Chaos erupted as the Bat family fought for their lives, barely managing to escape the savage mob, battered and breathless from the struggle. Back at the heart of Apocalypse, Kalibak stood before the monstrous Chaos Cannon, his fingers twitching with anticipation. The weapon had already decimated one world and now he wanted more. His advisors hesitated, warning that Darkseid himself might want to make the final decision on the next target, but Kalibak silenced them with a growl. His father was absent, locked away in his restoration chamber, and he refused to wait any longer. He chose a densely populated planet, eager to watch its energy siphoned away, ensuring Apocalypse's continued supremacy. But before he could give the final command, an alert reached him. An intruder was cutting a path through his forces, heading straight for the weapon. Batman had arrived. Parademons descended upon him in waves, their grotesque forms blocking his path, but he tore through them with brutal efficiency. His Hellbat armor, even in its compromised state, turned him into a one-man war machine, carving through the monstrous horde like a storm of fury and steel. His allies found him standing atop a mound of defeated parademons, his body trembling with rage, his vision darkened by the battle lust that Apocalypse bred in its warriors. For a moment he seemed lost, consumed by the unrelenting violence. But then they held up the Robin emblem. A small, simple reminder. A symbol of why he was there. His son. The sight snapped him back to reality. He exhaled sharply, pushing aside the bloodlust. For the first time since arriving, he acknowledged his allies, not as burdens but as part of his mission. They weren't just there for Damian. They were there for him too. And in that moment he accepted their help. The Chaos Cannon was preparing to fire again and time was running out. As they closed in on the weapon, Kalibak prepared for battle. The hulking warrior stood before the cannon, eager to crush the Bat and his pathetic companions. But before he could make a move, the assault began. Batman struck with relentless precision, pushing Kalibak back while Titus, Damian's loyal Great Dane, followed a scent trail into the depths of the weapon, where he found Damian's lifeless form entangled in the Chaos Shard's energy field. Cyborg, using every ounce of his technological prowess, worked to sabotage the cannon from within, attempting to force the weapon to self-destruct. But as he made his final move, a sudden surge of energy coursed through his systems, sending him crashing to the ground in agony. Batman, still locked in battle with Kalibak, turned at the sound. A new threat had arrived, one even more dangerous than the last. At last, the inevitable confrontation had arrived. Darkseid, ruler of Apocalypse, stood once again before Batman, the very man who had once defied him and walked away victorious. But here, in the heart of Darkseid's dominion, the war god was certain of one thing. This time Batman would not leave. His journey across the cosmos had been long and fraught with peril, but Apocalypse was where it would end. Yet Batman remained unfazed. Darkseid's burning gaze bore into him, but before he could make his move, Kalibak lunged from behind, seeking to end the conflict before it even began. Batman, however, had anticipated this. Just as Kalibak's massive form was about to strike, Batman activated a mother box, opening a portal beneath Darkseid's sun and sending him hurtling into the pits below, into the waiting hands of the Lowlies, the desperate and starving wretches of Apocalypse who knew no mercy. Darkseid merely watched as his firstborn vanished into the depths. Without hesitation, he crushed the mother box in his grip, warning Batman that there would be no more escape. Batman's response was as swift as it was defiant. His fist connected with Darkseid's jaw with the force of all his rage and determination. The blow made the god stagger, but Batman had never expected to fight him as an equal. He was here with a singular purpose and he would see it through to the end. Elsewhere, Batgirl and the others were beginning to realize the full weight of their predicament. With the mother box destroyed, their only remaining way home was through Cyborg. But Cyborg's systems were still in disarray from the Chaos Cannon's energy feedback, his connection to the boom tube network compromised. They were trapped on a dying world, facing one of the most powerful beings in existence. Darkseid retaliated with brutal efficiency. With a single motion, he hurled Batman into the Chaos Cannon's fuel chamber, sending him crashing into its core. The impact knocked loose a single object, the sarcophagus containing Damian Wayne. Time seemed to slow as it tipped over the edge, falling into the abyss below. Batman didn't hesitate. Ignoring his own battered body, he launched himself after it, his hands grasping for the only thing that mattered. He caught the sarcophagus just before it was lost, but before he could regain his footing, a massive shadow engulfed him. Darkseid came down from above. The impact was devastating. Batman barely had time to brace himself before the Apocalyptian tyrant's full weight slammed into him, driving him further into the pit. Every bone in his body felt the strain, but still he refused to let go. Above, Batgirl frantically worked to repair Cyborg's systems. They needed a boom tube now, or this fight would be over in the worst possible way. She could hear the sounds of battle echoing through the chamber, but there was nothing she could do to help. Their only hope was getting Cyborg functional before it was too late. Meanwhile, Darkseid had torn the wings from Batman's Hellbat armor, ripping the Chaos Shard from his grasp in the process. He held the artifact up, studying it with grim fascination. Only a being of immense power could wield such a thing and survive. He noted the burns that marred Batman's body, the toll it had already taken on his mortal frame. What horrors had Batman seen within the shard that made him willing to risk such agony? But Batman, even as his vitals plummeted, refused to give in. He met Darkseid's gaze, his voice steady despite the pain. Then a sound. The unmistakable hum of an opening boom tube. Darkseid turned toward it, amused. He taunted Batman, suggesting that his allies must have finally realized their mistake and were abandoning him. But Batman wasn't listening. His mind was focused, his body running on nothing but willpower. He was out of time, out of options. He made his final move. Rather than attempt to dodge the inevitable, he thrust the Chaos Shard upward as Darkseid prepared to unleash the Omega Sanction. The deadly beams, drawn to the shard's energy, struck it directly, feeding it with limitless power. The shard pulsed violently, overflowing with the raw might of Darkseid himself. This was it. Batman turned the full force of the Omega energy against its own master. A blinding explosion engulfed Darkseid as Batman, cradling Damian's sarcophagus, leaped through the boom tube just as it closed behind him. They were free. The Batcave was eerily silent when they reappeared. Alfred was waiting, his concern evident as he took in the sight of his broken master. The Hellbat suit, now surging with uncontrolled energy, was tearing Batman apart from the inside. He had minutes, if that. But he wasn't done. Stumbling forward, Batman clawed at the sarcophagus, desperate to open it. Every movement sent agony through his body, but he refused to stop. The suit was killing him, but he couldn't afford to remove it, not yet. With one final act of defiance, he tore the Chaos Shard from his own chest, his vision darkening, his breath shallow. Without hesitation, he thrust it into Damian's still heart, whispering a single promise. The Omega Sanction had taken life. This time it would restore it. The Bat family watched in stunned silence as Damian's body convulsed, the energy coursing through him. Then, miraculously, his eyes opened. He sat up, gasping, his gaze immediately locking onto his father. And then, after all this time, Damian Wayne embraced Batman. The fight was over. But as Damian took his first breath back in the world of the living, Batman fell to his knees. He had won. That's it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. I see you in the next video.